What's up, everybody? Season 10 of Dana White's Contender series kicked off last night, and I wanted to go through each fight and react because I thought that this was a strong opening night for Season 10, and so much so that I think we have a legit heavyweight contender on our hands in Anthony Wint. I believe that we have a future champion on our hands in Bilal Hasan. I think that we have a super technical, savvy, and crafty fighter that's going to do very well in the UFC in Tom Pagliarulo. And I think that we have a fighter in Kropschot who's actually going to surprise some people at the UFC level. And of course, the fight between Fabrizio and Abe, I felt like that was a massive robbery. So we're going to go through each fight. I'm going to recap, give my thoughts on what we saw because, man, I thought that this was a fun night. And obviously, this is probably my favorite time of the year. You got DWCS on Tuesday, you got the UFC on Saturday, and then you got football season knocking on the door, man. So, love this time of the year, and when DWCS is back, we had seen the amount of fighters that have came off this show and went on to be massive stars in the sport, champions, and just have overall very successful careers. And I feel like what we saw week one was some fighters that are going to come in and do very, very well. Now, for the first fight of the night, we had Kunneman versus Kropschot, right? So Kropschot goes out there and gets the decision, but I mean, Kunneman, if he would have tapped, he basically was just like, take my arm, dog, right? So it essentially, a lot of other guys in there, they're going to tap, and Kropschot is walking out of there with a round 3 submission victory. And the reality of Kropschot's game is, do I think that this guy is going to be a champion? Probably not. But I do think that he's a guy that could be slightly troubling and win some fights in the UFC, right? He trains with Gilbert Melendez over there at Scrap Pack. He's got a long frame for the weight class. He was throwing beautiful technical shots. And I know that it kind of looks like he's moving in slow motion a bit out there, but everything was super tight and technical. And that was the difference in this fight. He brutally exposed Kunneman. Kunneman was a guy that there was some hesitancy from me coming into this fight, because he had the nice, pretty record. He's got the nickname AK-47, He's been around John Jones and he, training around Sandhagen and Gaethje, to where it's like the hype was there. We know that he's a very good grappler. He's got good wrestling. He's explosive on the feet. But man, he got brutally exposed. And I know that when you come on DWCS, some of these guys, they really feel the moment maybe more than others. And I feel like there were some jitters going on for Kunneman in that fight because he was just swinging haymakers the whole time. That's not going to get it done on DWCS. Unless you kind of fluke a shot or something, that's not going to get it done. And Kropschot's a guy that's got plenty of experience over in LFA. Got that tall, rangy frame, battering the midsection of Kunneman. He did a beautiful job of attacking the body. And when I was watching it in real time, I'm like, neither of these guys look like they're ready for the UFC. But as the fight started to play out, I'm like, does Kropschot move like he's going to be a champion or something? No, not particularly. But I love the way that he fought. He attacked the body of Kunneman. It was brilliant fight IQ, jabbing to the body, ripping nasty hooks to the body, and he punished him with the front kicks, man. That was one of the best master classes that we've seen, with a guy just punishing the body with front kicks that we've seen on the show. And Kropschot's ground game is nasty because Kunneman is a good wrestler. If we want to, we can rip on Kunneman a little bit for getting exposed in this matchup, but I feel like a lot of that is just the skill set that Kropschot brings to the table. He was very composed in there. Even when Kunneman hit him with some big shots, he never flinched. He found ways to just batter him, back him up, land the more technical straight combinations. And then when the fight hit the floor and Kunneman was even able to get him down, Kropschot did a beautiful job of reversing position, scrambling, and immediately threatening with submission skills. And listen, I know that when you watch Kropschot, you could sit here and say, well, he's not particularly ready for the UFC. But when you have a guy that's going to move forward, has a nasty ground game that can submit you at any minute and is super dangerous on the floor like that, that's a guy that I think definitely can have a chance at the UFC level. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. I wasn't sold on Kropschot coming on to DWCS, but he put on a good performance, right? And that was basically the first time that we saw Kunneman battle any type of adversity in his career. So it's kind of hard, right, coming into DWCS because it's like, oh, this guy's undefeated. He's battled no adversity. And it's like, well, is it just he's getting, kind of layups here? He's just fighting who he can? Well, we're going to find out when it comes, push comes to shove on the show. And Kropschot went out there, and I thought he dominated the fight. Outside of Kunneman landing a few shots here and there, Kropschot battered his body, took some wind out of the sails, set up some good shots upstairs, was pressuring him, keeping him at range. Kunneman had no answer to close the distance and get on the inside. And when the fight hit the floor, you could see the danger of Kropschot immediately. And that armbar, it was nasty. And most guys are going to tap in reality, I mean, Kunneman was not going to win the fight on the scorecards, right? If it was like some razor close fight and you're like, I'm just going to make it through, take my arm, but I'm going to get through this thing and get the W. The reality was I thought he was clearly down in the fight, and it was a coasting, nice performance by Kropschot to where he just picked him apart. Easy win for Kropschot. Got the decision win, but in reality, pretty much a submission victory is the way that I kind of like to look at it. And he got a contract, and I thought that he should have gotten a contract because he was very poised in there, mixed up the shots well, he's well-rounded. It was a good performance. Next, we got Tom Pagliarulo versus Mulumba. Listen, man, I was high on Tom Pags coming into this, and he was an underdog coming in, and I was kind of surprised by that. Now, why I wasn't surprised, though, is because we saw Mulumba just a season ago, and he dang near knocked out Marwan Rahiki, and if there's a different referee in there for that fight, Mulumba probably already is in the UFC right now. Right, and how well he would be doing, we wouldn't know, but he would have gotten the victory over Rahiki, right? There's many refs that would have stopped that fight. Rahiki looked like he was out to me, or close to it. And the fight was so close to being stopped, and Mulumba just unloaded the gas tank, and then Rahiki came back, and it was a learning opportunity for Mulumba. Went back to the regional scene, was rattling off some impressive victories, and even though he's, on the shorter side, man, is Mulumba very explosive. And we got to see that in this fight. He was landing some really good shots. His ground game is solid, but what really surprised me was how good Tom was on the ground. Because coming in, I was like, look, Tom's got the sharper striking. He's got the range. He's got a tall frame for the division. And he's just going to have to stay technical, stay safe, don't get hit by those big shots of Mulumba, and stop some takedowns, because if things are getting dicey on the feet, I can see Mulumba looking to level change. But the reality was Tom was the better grappler. And man, does he remind me of Corey Sandhagen out there, right? He's got some of the tattoos, right? So he's got the Corey look to him, the way he's moving out there, right? With the hands up, the guard, the movement, kind of switching the stances, skating around the octagon, that lower base, right? Giving you all kinds of feints, level changes. Like Tom Pagliarulo, I don't know that he's going to be a champion, but what I do know is I feel like he's going to have some success in the UFC. This is a guy that was fighting so smart out there, man. And this was the biggest opportunity of his career by far. And training over a Tiger Beetle, right? I know he was part of the New England cartel. He had Tyson Chartier in his corner, who's a great coach. But working with Sandhagen and Carrington Banks, man, your game is just going to go to that next level. And man, has it been paying off for Tom, because he is so polished. That was such a poised performance to where he was just so calm in there, and he didn't flinch. And I know when I say flinch, you're like, oh, well, big shots were coming, so he was flinching. He didn't flinch in terms of he got cracked by some big shots by a dangerous guy, Mulumba, who dang near knocked out Marwan Rahiki, who a lot of us are saying is, he's the real deal in the UFC, right? So that just speaks to the danger that Mulumba brings to the table. And Tom Pags had a tremendous amount of success, right? He clipped Mulumba with a good right hand, came rushing in, and then got caught with a shot. And then he I feel like that settled him into the fight. And that was a learning opportunity for Tom as well, I feel, right? When you hurt a guy, don't just rush in. But we got to see, as the fight started to play out, I felt like it might have been 1-1, maybe, right? Saying that Mulumba could have took the first round, Tom could have won the second round. I don't know, I'm just going off the top of my head from what I remember. But in round 3, beautiful work by Tom to go to the takedowns. And that's the thing about, an explosive guy like Mulumba, he's probably going to slow down. And that's where Tom got to the takedowns, started to beat him up with some ground and pound, excellent control, dominant positions, started to just take the back, right? Mulumba couldn't get out of there. Tom's threatening with submissions, and then that just kind of opened up some good ground and pound, and the referee had to step in and call a stop to the action. So there were people out there saying Tom shouldn't get a contract because it wasn't the most impressive thing. Don't forget, a lot of people were picking Mulumba to win because of what he was able to do against Rahiki. And Mulumba's super dangerous, man. Tons of power, very explosive. But for me, the way I looked at that fight was, yes, Mulumba has the power. But man, Tom is way more polished, way more high level, way more technical, and that's what we saw in the fight. Excellent knees, good elbows, and displayed a full, well-rounded martial arts game. And man, does he remind me a lot of Corey Sandhagen. So Tom Pagliarulo absolutely deserved the contract. I'm happy for the dude. I was rooting for him. I was screaming watching him. I was screaming at the TV. I'm like, finish him, ground and pound. Because I like Tom, man. I like what I saw from him. He's a sharp fighter, very, very technical. Was able to go out there and beat a very dangerous opponent. And out of all the matchups, right, in terms of the guys that won, and I know they're different weight classes, Tom, you could argue that Tom had the toughest matchup out of all the guys. And I know they're different weight classes, like I was saying, but Mulumba was on the show before, and he's very dangerous. So Tom to go out there and get the job done, I thought it was very, very impressive. Very poised, very technical. never flinched, battled through some adversity, and was able to really fight he looked like a high-level fighter in there, man. And that's what you want to see when you're getting ready for the UFC. Great performance by Tom Pagliarulo, getting the round 3 TKO stoppage and getting a contract. Then we got Bilal Hasan versus Sakia. Listen, I've been saying it. I said it before the show. I made a reel talking about this, or a YouTube short. Bilal Hasan is the real deal. This dude is not just hype. This guy is undefeated. He's out here finishing everybody dang near. Listen, Bilal Hasan not only, obviously give him the contract, right? A first round finish that I think happened, in less than a minute, right? So like 45 seconds or something like that. It felt like a squash match to me, right? I know Sakia is exciting and whatever, he's explosive and has some skills, but Bilal Hasan is a guy that I think you could throw in there against the top 10 fighters right now in the UFC flyweight division, which, by the way, is possibly the best division in the UFC. It's between welterweight and flyweight, in my opinion, and flyweight is my favorite division in the UFC right now. Bilal Hasan could compete with the top 10 right now. Now, I hope the UFC gives him a slow build. I want him, he's 25 years of age, build up that star power, allow him to get some experience. Don't just speed run him, right? Because flyweight is loaded with killers. But I'm telling you right now, Bilal Hasan is going to be the flyweight champion at some point, and he may move up one day to bantamweight and become a champion there. This guy has the X factor. He's an X factor fighter. He's got the it factor. And people are like, well, calm down, man. He just knocked out Sakia on Contender Series, and that was an easy matchup for him. The amount of pressure that he had coming into this fight, being, I think, the largest favorite by far in DW. Even in the UFC, when do we see a favorite like that? So the pressure that comes with that, like the expectations are that you go out there and dominate. And a lot of the times we see fighters go out there and they don't necessarily do that, or it takes longer. And it's like, man, he didn't make that look easy. Bilal Hasan made that look so easy. As soon as Sakia threw the low kick, had the timing, boom, right hand, slept him bad. How many flyweights do you see walking around that have that kind of frame, that kind of speed, that kind of accuracy, that kind of skill, being able to be a switch hitter, ripped to the body while his striking is disgusting with the high-level taekwondo background, man. He's so explosive and dynamic. And having that kind of power with that speed, that's like something we've never really seen at flyweight. I know we have Cap who has power. We got Van with great boxing. Like, there's some great fighters at flyweight. But I don't think there's anybody like Bilal Hasan, man. That's the reality. And I think that this dude, I was saying he's going to be a champion. You can bookmark it. He's going to be the flyweight champion at some point. I just hope the UFC slowly build him up. Slowly build him up. Let him build that star power. Let him get that experience. Don't rush it too soon. Don't push it too fast. Slow roll it, because flyweight, this is the best flyweight has ever been by a mile. Flyweight's never been this good. It's loaded, man. The rankings loaded with talented fighters and lots of dynamic talent as well. Some very good grapplers, some very good strikers, guys that could do it all. And that's what I love about flyweight is pretty much everyone's complete. And I know people are talking about, well, the ground game of Bilal. We haven't really seen it. You go back and watch some of his fights prior to DWCS. We have seen his ground game. He can even submit guys. He's a complete mixed martial artist. He's only going to get better. He's young in the game, and he's getting in at the right time. And with power like that, with speed, the timing, the rhythm, this dude is nasty. I am all in on Bilal Hasan. I was saying it prior to DWCS. Go back and watch some of this dude's fights prior to coming on the show, because he is nasty. He's nasty. And there aren't many guys that are going to be able to strike with him, period. They're going to look to level change. His takedown defense is good. He can scramble well. He has good submissions of his own. This is a guy that you're going to see in the rankings very, very soon. And to go out there and hit the moonwalk, hit the Michael Jackson, dancing around to Billie Jean, that's what you need. He gets the game, right? Have a personality. Be funny. Be entertaining. Be a showman. The way you dress, the way you move, the way you walk, the way you talk, all those things make you a star. He checks every single box. Book it. Bilal Hasan will be the flyweight champion at some point. A super impressive win. I expected him to get the first round knockout within the first couple minutes. Sure enough, that's exactly what he did, as I feel like everyone kind of saw that coming. So Bilal Hasan, absolutely the real deal, man. Abe Alsaghir versus Fabrizio Escarrega. This was an absolute robbery. This was 100% a robbery in my opinion, right? And Dana White, I was watching it and I'm like, I just know Dana, and he's going to say something. When they got Abe sitting up there because he was a winner, I'm like, he's definitely not getting a contract. And Dana's definitely going to bring up the fact that he thought he lost, right? Because anyone watching that, it's like, I don't even think Abe thought he won. And the fact that a judge, I think it was one judge gave it 30-27 for Fabrizio and the other two 29-28 Abe. How is that even possible? I thought Fabrizio very clearly won the first 2 rounds. And then round 3, okay, so Abe, threatened with a submission, was throwing some shots here and there. Like, Abe was spamming right hands and a left hook that, to be fair, kept landing, was kind of just jumping around, throwing some shots, smudging Fabrizio up against the fence. If anything, I was impressed with the fact that Fabrizio, because my question for him was, how good's his takedown defense? Because if it's not good, Abe could possibly exploit that as the fight starts to progress. But Fabrizio did a great job defending takedowns. And one of the reasons that Abe got his back was because he was holding Fabrizio, and Fabrizio's looking at the ref like, come on, which he shouldn't have done, because then that's basically what got his back taken, in my opinion. But I was more impressed with Fabrizio. But having said that, I didn't think he was that impressive. He has some good volume. I'd like to see him back on the show. Maybe the UFC will call him at some point as a short notice step in, but he was bringing the fight. And Abe was looking to level change after he'd land one shot, boom, level change. And I get that it's a fight, but when you come on this show, man, like, a smudge fest, it's not going to get it done. You're not going to get a contract that way. So, in my opinion, why even bother coming onto the show if you're going to go out there and not look to be entertaining? It's that type of game where you need to be entertaining. That's the reality. And Dana doesn't hide it. He lets you know. He tells you what he's looking for. And I get it that you still want to win at the end of the day. You don't want to have a loss. But I'd rather go out there and lose trying to get some sort of impressive win or something like that, right? Nothing about it was impressive from Abe. I didn't think he won the fight whatsoever. I thought it was a robbery. I thought Escarrega pretty clearly won the fight, especially the first couple rounds. Round 3, I get it got dicey, but every 1 or 2 shots that Abe landed, and it's not like they were that damaging, Escarrega would respond with many, many shots. He was just walking him down, moving forward, landing a bunch of shots. Brutal robbery. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Neither guy should have gotten signed. I thought it was kind of a sloppy, low-level fight to where neither of those guys, in my opinion, will have success in the UFC anyway. The last fight of the night, the featured fight, Anthony Wint versus Adams. Listen, we all kind of knew that Anthony Wint was going to win this fight by most likely an early first-round knockout. I was explaining coming into this, right? I have a football background, right? So I have an appreciation for these guys that are coming over. And you see Austin Lane, you see Greg Hardy, you see some of the defensive linemen, they come in, and sure, they have some moments here and there. It's not that defensive linemen aren't high-level thinkers in football. But when you talk about a guy who's played quarterback, right? You talk about a guy who plays middle linebacker, inside linebacker, or safety, someone that is having to be a consistent high-level thinker out there to where not everything on the defensive line you're trying to pass rush and get to the quarterback. You're trying to just, engage with the offensive line, rip, stuff the run, whatever the case may be. You kind of have your assignment. To where when you're a linebacker, you're reacting. And I watched Wint play linebacker at FIU. I watched him for the Jets, right? Spent some time with the Jets for a little bit. In order to play that position at a very high level and be as good as he was at FIU, to even sniff the NFL, not only do you have to be very athletic and explosive, but you got to be so sharp mentally. And that's how Wint fights. When you take a guy like him and you teach him, the fundamentals of mixed martial arts, he's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem because you see when he fights the anticipation, like he's sitting there waiting to read. Well, where's the running back going? Where's the play going? Is it play action? Is it a run? Oh, I'm shooting a gap and I'm hitting the running back in the hole. That's the way he fights. You could see it out there, right? Level changing. He's a smart guy out there. He's dissecting, and the way that he's able to pick up on stuff, bang, 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 bang. It's quick. It's quick, quick, quick. He's not messing around in there. See ball, get ball. That is literally his fighting mentality. He literally channels his football style into fighting while being technical, very fundamentally sound. Those low kicks were nasty. Obviously, you look at the dude, he's an absolute tank. He's a brick, right? He's got a ton of power. He's got very, very good speed. He trains with a great camp. Having Robbie Lawler in your corner, I'd say that'll do, right? You got Kamaru Usman singing the praises. Anthony Wint is 1,000% going to be a legit contender in this weight class. A champion? We'll have to see. We'll have to see who's around by the time he gets there, right? Because we know how good Aspinall, Gane, these guys are, but when you have a guy that's that explosive, I don't think a lot of fight fans, guys that aren't really, into the football world, man, to be a linebacker as good as he was at a big school in FIU and then even get a crack in the NFL to even make a roster, you got to be insanely athletic, insanely smart at what you do. And as a linebacker, reading, right? You're the one calling the plays. Maybe you're the guy getting the signals to, call out to the defense. You're trying to dissect an offense and figure out what to do. The reason I'm bringing all that up is because that's how he thinks when he's fighting. It gives him an advantage, right? A lot of fighters I'm just going to go out there and fight. Now, we do see guys with a technical approach, but you can see Wint out there very, very much thinking, dissecting, coming in with a game plan, and being that see ball, get ball. Oh, I see he's moving this way. I'm going to counter, right? There's no hesitation. No hesitation in his game. He sees and acts. That's going to take him very, very far. And a guy that's just a super humble guy, stand-up guy. I really like Anthony Wint. Right, he ended up sharing my predictions video on Instagram, which I thought was pretty cool, or reposting it. So, listen, man, I got a lot of love for Anthony Wint. I watched him at FIU. I'm a big football fan, so it was cool to see him in the UFC. I was excited to see how he would do. And listen, man, you saw the takedown defense on display. And when he gets to the ground and pound and gets to his takedowns, I mean, he shoots a double leg like a linebacker hitting a running back in a hole. Gets very low, very explosive. And if he can put you on your back, he can absolutely dominate you with some ground and pound and get you out of there. And listen, he's only going to get better, training at a great gym. When you take a guy that's that gifted athletically and a guy that works his tail off and you teach him technique and you kind of just hone all that in, you're dealing with a real problem. And with the speed and athleticism that he brings to the heavyweight division, we're seeing what a guy like Josh Hokett is doing. And Josh Hokett is dang good, but I feel like Anthony Wint, the sky is the limit for this guy. He's very, very explosive, man. Very, very explosive. We're seeing what Hokett's doing. Guy with a football background, dual sport athlete at Fresno was Hokett, right? At a D1 school. It's incredible to be able to do that. Wint's going to be a problem. So that was week one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. What'd you think of week one? I know some people out there saying it was a little underwhelming. I don't know what you're talking about. I thought it was fun. I mean, yeah, we had a robbery, the first fight, two guys that have never been to a decision or whatever. It was kind of being hyped up in that aspect. And, two guys that are kind of known for their grappling. And, we see that happen where they don't end up grappling and it ends up being a striking affair. And Kropschot was just much more polished on the feet. And for a while, it looked like he was in slow motion. He was very technical, fought a very, very smart fight. And that's encouraging because if you're just one of these guys that it's going to be like Kunneman spamming these big winging shots, I don't feel like that's going to get you that far in the UFC. But a guy like Kropschot who's in there thinking, picking his shots well, that'll take you somewhere. So great performances. I agreed with everybody getting contracts that got them. And Alsaghir versus Escarega, despite who won that, no contract should be awarded. I thought it was a sloppy, lousy, low-level fight to where neither of those guys, in my opinion, were probably going to get a win in the UFC. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. And if you're new, if you could subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. I'll see you next time.